Greetings, everyone.
I'm back, baby.
It's Ciely.
I'm great. Everybody else sucks.
Oh,
no. It's every nightmare I've ever had.
Excuse me?
It's time to check the link.
Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't matter because none of this has anything to do with the show.
You know what? You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No.
What's up, you ducks? It's all in football, and week one is almost already in the books, and week one also means aggravation's already in the books, Chris. A lot of happy people, a lot of angry people, a lot of disgruntled Raheem Mostert fans, but we're going to be talking about all that today. Hopefully, there's a hell of a lot to get through. Like, I even tried to condense the conversation topics into, like, the bullet point. Like, I still, like... We're going to get through every game, maybe. But we'll see. If you're not following Chris Meaney, at Chris Meaney, which, by the way, also make sure you're checking out his work at FTN, sign behind him, all that stuff. Hockey's coming soon already. I see people talking about that in the draft kits. I can't believe it's already back. But also, as a reminder, code ALLIN, discount to FTN. If you go to theathletic.com/BetsTV, name of the show, all capitals. Make sure you put in all capitals. First free month, so you can get help. Waiver article comes out tonight for me, midnight, to get you ready for that. And, thumbs up, subscribe, all that stuff. Help us. We're still trying to grow. This is only, barely over a month going, Chris, so we're still trying to grow ourselves back out there on this new show. But let's talk about Raheem Mostert, Chris. Let's talk about Kyle Shanahan and what happened in week one. So... basically scramble mode Sunday morning for anybody like us. Around 11:30, 11:45, we get that Trey Sermon's going to be healthy and active, and it was redo all the projections, redo all the rankings, run around like crazy before the regular inactives come out. And then what happens, Raheem Mostert, I had him inside the top 10. In this matchup is basically, I already had him. For everybody out there that's like, oh, you should have overreacted, there was going to be a split anyway. It's like, no, I already had Raheem Mostert at 14 before this. I was starting Sermon too at like running back 30. It was the Lions. Look what just happened. So anyway, Mostert gets hurt, and there is no Trey Sermon. It's Elijah Mitchell who goes off. Jermichael Hasty gets a touchdown. So here's the question, Chris. I know my opinion, but let's talk about it. Is it Shanahanigans? Is it that no Raheem Mostert? Are we going to care about Sermon? Are we going insane for Elijah Mitchell on waivers because he's a 0% rostered on most sites, maybe 1% on some? Do we dump the entire bucket? Which way are you attacking this? Because we still don't have clarity on how long Mostert's going to be out anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. I'm with you. I liked Mostert to begin with. I'll be honest. I got absolutely burned when Sermon was ruled inactive. I went right to our FTN subs and FTNbets.com and myself made bets for Mostert to have. I already had him for a touchdown, so that was already in there. But I had him for over 15 carries. I had him for over 65 rushing yards. I just felt like he was going to have a big day regardless. Now, this news that happened with Sermon, it made me come off of him a little bit in DFS, which saved me just slightly, but it was certainly frustrating. But I think we were in the right because it was such a really strong matchup against Detroit. We saw Mitchell, his first NFL start. Nobody was talking about this guy. Like Shanahan says after the game that he outplayed Sermon, that Sermon was just outplayed by 2 or 3 different running backs. Like it would be nice to hear that kind of stuff, throughout camp. But, the Niners keep things hush-hush. That's fine. But I think real that quick, this is going to be a confusing back. Go ahead. I was going to add to it real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but I do want to add to it before you kind of point to where you're going forward. So the Athletics, Matt Barrows said that yesterday. The report was, I saw it in Slack. NBC Edge is reporting it now. I'll see if they have the exact, I don't know. I saw his quote in Slack. I should have just had that pulled up. But he was basically saying that he asked Shanahan about this. He said that after months of it pointing to it is Sermon, it goes Mostert, Sermon, then the others. Why wasn't that the case? And he basically said, Shanahan, we're paraphrasing here, basically said there never was an hierarchy. It's basically been who's performing the best. We think we have talent in our entire backfield. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but that there's never been a set, this is the guy, this is the guy, this is the guy, this guy. And there are some reports that it was Sermon
until
I can't seem
week
to hear
3.
you, so if you just keep talking.
You keep talking? Or your audio went out again? Well, then fine. I'll keep talking. You wave a hand when you're back. Is the fact that like once we got you can't hear me if I say wave your hand. Let me put this in the private chat for Chris real quick, everybody. Wave when back. Here we go.
Hear you.
Wave when back. This is week 1. This is what it's all about. Or drop and reconnect. And there we go. So anyway, the point was until week 3 of the preseason when then Mostert was the guy the entire time, but that Sermon fell behind Elijah Mitchell and Jermichael Hasty, whether or not that's the case, but that happened after week 3 of the preseason when we weren't allowed to view practices, when the media wasn't allowed in practices. So that's what's being said. While we're waiting for Chris to come back, what I was going to say is for me, I am going after Elijah Mitchell. Obviously, you cannot not go after Elijah Mitchell. But the fact is, I don't think I'm going crazy. I would say for me, for everybody out there that does fab, I would probably drop 20, 30%, which is semi-aggressive. But in a case like this where it might be, hey, if it was the guy, like if we knew for certain it was the guy, if it was Mostert like we've seen before, you could argue 40, 50% depending on how running back needy you are. In a case like this, again, 20, 30, and I still would try to go get Sermon. And I mean that because he's rostered in most leagues, but I would go try and trade for him on the cheap because Sermon fills a similar role to Mostert. Elijah Mitchell, I wrote about him coming out of college, is definitely more of a change of pace, pass-catching option. And I think that maybe, this is what I said yesterday, too, my buddy talking about the game, is that if you look at the roles filled, and you're only going to have 3 active running backs, Raheem Mostert is Raheem Mostert. Well, if you're duplicating Raheem Mostert, you're very much duplicating him with Trey Sermon. Elijah Mitchell and Jermichael Hasty aren't Trey Sermon and Raheem Mostert. So I was saying that like I don't 100% believe Shanahan, the fact that like this is the guy situation, but I think we're headed towards more Shanahanigans, and that's just going to be an annoying situation all year long, which is what we've avoided for years. But yeah, go get Elijah Mitchell. Don't get crazy. We'll see if Chris is doing the same thing if and when he comes back. The other concern from the 49ers game is Brandon Aiyuk, who was not even second in snaps for wide receivers. Brandon Aiyuk was actually 3rd behind Trent Sherfield, which kind of points again to that. Is this Shanahan's plan or is this Shanahan being Shanahan? I'm not going desperate crazy. This is another one. I'm not overreacted. I think the theme for week 1 should be don't overreact. But the thing here was Aiyuk being 3rd in snaps. I would buy low. I wouldn't sell. You're not going to get the proper value for him right now. But this is definitely concerning if this doesn't change. If he's just not 100%, that's why I'll buy low. Can you actually hear me this time, Chris?
Yeah, I don't know what the heck. This is a great start to my Monday. I can hear you now. Yes, you can hear me. My bad. Apologies to everybody.
Yeah. So anyway, I was already on to Brandon Aiyuk. So do you want to come back and so basically what I said, I'm dropping 20, 30% on Elijah Mitchell. You do have to go get him, but I would still try to buy low on Trey Sermon. And if the situation is going to possibly be frustrating for the entire year, because I don't think this is a clear this guy, this. I don't believe Shanahan that Sermon is out of the picture, but I also don't believe him that we're going to have a lead that we can trust going forward, as always.
Yeah, I'm sure you said it perfectly. Listen, it's just we have a long history of what you said, shenanigans. We know that Shanahan likes to rotate through some of these backs, but he's the guy to go ahead and grab this morning. Out of all the running backs I'm sure we're going to talk about here today, he's definitely the one that should be up at the top. He's up at the top of my rankings. It's going to be a good offense. They're going to run the football well, and for now, it's a back. I know you're going to get to Aiyuk. I'm not completely worried about Brandon Aiyuk, but yeah, Elijah Mitchell, I mean, he looked okay yesterday too. It was a really good matchup, but if he's going to get 15 plus touches, I think the biggest thing is that Mostert has been hurt quite a bit over the past few years, so he's just really hard to trust.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So Brandon Aiyuk was saying it was 3rd in snaps. So you just kind of alluded to it. What I said, and I'll just let you go because I already spoke on it completely for everybody that's still been listening. As I said, I think it could be injury related. I am trying to buy low on Brandon Aiyuk, but I will admit it is not without being possible, concern for the fact he was behind Sherfield in snaps.
Yeah, but it was injuries. Like, let's be real. Like, Sherford's a nice player.
Let's be real.
Like, why not?
Because it's Shanahan.
Niners.
Because it's Shanahan. When has Shanahan ever definitively gone by talent?
Man, there's a wide range of talent, a gap between those two, and I'm a Sherfield fan. Like, I talked about this.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm disagreeing with Shanahan making sense.
Aiyuk was dealing with injuries throughout most of camp. The couple weeks leading up, there was talk that he was going to be inactive. I saw Inside Injuries, which is an account that you follow pretty closely. I saw them tweet a week before the game that it was like his injury was a 3 to 4 week thing. I'm not overreacting. He's one of the biggest buy lows in fantasy football.
I agree with that. But are you? So you're saying there's a non-zero? There is a 0 chance that he doesn't have situation for the entire, well, at least for the next couple of weeks where he's splitting with Sherfield.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about it. No.
Okay. Zero. So 0 is 1 out of 10. 0 out of 10.
Sure, 1 because it's Shanahan, right? 1 because it's Shanahan, but that's it. Like, again,
I think that 1 has to carry more like a 4.
No, they don't really have a 3 on that team in terms of wide receivers. So there's an opportunity for him.
They don't need a 3.
No, they don't need a 3 exactly. So Aiyuk's going to be the 3.
Okay, so messy situation. On the flip side, Detroit Lions. Thanks for garbage time for that team. If you had DeAndre Swift or Jamal Williams, so DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, exactly what we expected. It's a split backfield, about 60-40. DeAndre Swift looked healthy yesterday, so kudos to both of them for showing out against the 49ers defense of all defenses. But the biggest one I have to say is it's pretty much what we expected for the Lions. It's Swift, Williams, Tyrell Williams, who got his volume, and TJ Hawkinson. Is there anybody else? I mean, Cephas caught a touchdown, but he was like 5th in snaps. So, like, it's those 4, and we're moving on, correct?
Yeah, and I think the big takeaway for Tyrell, and I was talking to Pat yesterday, he didn't seem to be too excited about Williams, but he ran more routes than anybody in that first half, and then he took a helmet-to-helmet hit, which basically he missed an entire quarter. So I think, the snaps and the volume would have been a lot higher. But yeah, this is the TJ Hawkinson show, and I think both running backs, Jamal Williams may not have been started in a couple of leagues yesterday, but I think you may have to just play him as a flex. Like, I don't think it's the same sort of upside, Jake, as the Saints backs a couple of years ago with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. But both of these guys may
I'll
catch.
disagree.
You think it could be very similar?
No. I don't think it's the upside of Kamara for Swift, but I think it's better than the Saints because you can actually start Jamal Williams there. Like, this is the argument I got on Twitter with this whole situation with Tony Jones. Everybody's like, oh, well, definitely Tony Jones. This is before everything with the Baltimore situation. This is immediately when the Dobbins thing went down. It was like Tyson Williams, and everybody was like, oh, blah, blah. So people were saying, well, why Le'Veon Bell? This is before Latavius Murray, before they even brought in Freeman. And they're like, well, because you want Tony Jones over Le'Veon Bell at that time because Tony Jones has standalone value. I was like, no, he doesn't. Latavius Murray never had standalone value. He had 6 good games. You could never confidently go out there. It was basically like yesterday for the 49ers. You would say, okay, I can see a situation to play both of them this week because it should be a blowout. They should both produce. But if you go back and look at Latavius Murray, it was 6 good games. And it is 6 games of like, when are they going to happen? So I actually think this is better. And that's why I say it's Swift doesn't have Kamara's upside. But I think the situation is better because I think most every week you can roll out Jamal Williams as a flex running back, whereas Latavius Murray, you were hoping to get that.
Yeah, that's a good point. The fact that he got as much usage, between them, they had 20 targets. I think we can expect that from Swift, but the fact that Jamal Williams was involved as much as he was with 9 targets and 8 grabs, it's pretty impressive. And it's going to be a team that's playing from behind quite a bit. Yeah, it was crazy. I sweated out the 49ers survivor pick. I'm sure a lot of people did. They were up by 24 with 2.5 minutes left, and they had a chance
to show up in the fourth quarter
to tie that game. Yeah, it's super strange. But both of these guys, I think you can. Swift, right. You're definitely rolling out.
We got to roll. That's one game. Well, that's partly all your fault for disappearing, but it's for one game. So second, this is perfect timing. Alec Bernstein's question, if you're there, Tino, also, would you sell high on Brandon Cooks? Absolutely not. I actually put in the rundown for Chris Meaney was Brandon Cooks, mwahahahaha. Everybody telling me, Jake, you're too high on Brandon Cooks. You're too high on Brandon Cooks. Where the hell are you now? I'm not too high on Brandon Cooks because it's volume. Now I will say this, Chris. If somebody's going to give you a top 20 pick value for Brandon Cooks? Yes. I'm being tongue-in-cheek with that. You sell high on Brandon Cooks because Tyrod's still going to have quieter games. Tyrod still has a cap when you're talking about yards and all that type of stuff, and air yards and aggressive, all that type of stuff. This is a run-freaking-heavy team, as we just saw. All of a sudden, Ingram led the backfield. 3 running backs scored. The answer before the season, Chris, is I want 0 Texans. Did anything change yesterday on Brandon Cooks? No, again, tongue-in-cheek aside, Brandon Cooks, your opinion on him. But of this backfield, is there any value that you're willing to buy into after 1 week? Or is this just like, that was funny to see, but don't expect it?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the outlier game. Also, I'm with you on Cooks. I always like the value and the opportunity. And his, I think, receiving prop was like 53.5 or something silly like that. It's going to be one that you're going to want to smash every single week. Ingram for just volume and opportunity, but this is going to be the outlier game. You're not going to play Jacksonville every week. They're not going to be up by 25 and running the football every single week. It's going to be a frustrating backfield, but Ingram is the lead. Volume is king. He should be on your roster. There's no question about that.
35 snaps for Ingram, 22 for Johnson, 20 for Lindsey, and then 10 for Burkhead. But we got, again, Ingram and Lindsey with the touchdowns rushing and David Johnson receiving. But to give you a point, Brandon Cooks 61 snaps. The next closest was Mark Ingram 35 for running backs. That being said, Nico Collins, any interest in there? Second most snaps for wide receivers ahead of Chris Conley in the first game.
Yeah, absolutely. Cooks was the only one that played over him in the preseason. I don't expect high thing. My expectations are not high when it comes to Nico Collins, but you never know what the Texans could do. They could flip Mark Ingram. They could flip Cooks. Like they should be trying to acquire as many picks as they can because they've made so many brutal trades over the past couple of years and just giving away a lot of draft picks. So it's possible that Nico Collins could fall into a bigger role, but that's a really great sign for him week 1 to be second on that team in snaps and usage. Absolutely.
All right, so on the other side of the ball, this is a quick one. We had Marvin Jones, 67 snaps, DJ Shark, 62, Shenault, 52, 10 behind. And then O'Shaughnessy with 59. It looked a little bit So two-part question is one has, you want to call it confirmation bias, people out there, you can if you want, but this is what my concern, I kept saying the entire time, was that if Shark is on the same page, I was hesitant to start him in week 1. Let me make that clear. I didn't really want to start Shark. I had him as Shark, whatever. We'll still have to find that out. I had him about wide receiver 40-ish, right close to Shenault, Marvin Jones being the lead. But, Shark caught the big touchdown, 10 snaps in front of Shenault. Clearly what I said is he's the third, that being Shenault. So 2 parts is this, if you can get away from Shenault and still get the hype that you got in the draft, would you get away because of that snap count? And then 2, could O'Shaughnessy be somebody for tight end needy teams? ?
I think he might be. If they're going to throw the ball 50-plus times, and then he may be. Like, if I'm thinking, if I owned Austin Hooper, for example, like that's a switch I would easily make. I'd say, see you later, Hooper, and I would go and pick up Shaughnessy.
And Njoku was on the field a lot, and
he
running
was
running more routes the time he was out there versus the time that Hooper was out here. And so, anyway, continue.
Yeah, absolutely. No, for sure. There's no question. Like, Hooper wouldn't touch my roster. I would make that swap. I like all 3 wide receivers in Jacksonville. I think they're all going to eat, honestly. DJ Chark was second in air yards behind Tyreek Hill. He was a big time player in air yards last year and got a lot of deep throws, Jake, but the quarterback play was just so brutal. And Trevor Lawrence had some issues yesterday, but I thought he did a lot of good things too. It was his first NFL game. There's going to be a lot of questions when it comes to the offensive line, but I like all 3 of these guys. I still think I like Marv the most, but there's still a big ceiling when it comes to Chark, and Laviska's a bit of an uptick in full point PPR leagues because he's going to be that short ADOT guy that's probably going to rack up 5 or 6 grabs a week. Man, I think Lawrence may be top 5 in the league in passing attempts, and that's appealing for these weapons.
That was part of the reason I love Lawrence so much. It's just, again, volume.
Should we talk about the backfield? I don't want to overreact, but I saw James Robinson get used in more of a passing down role, and Carlos Hyde seemed like the lead. I don't know who's going to be the guy in the red zone. I don't think we can ever play that game. That's just going to give us a massive headache on who Urban Meyer may go to when they're inside the 5. But I didn't think that was a great first game for James Robinson. Not so much on him, but I think overall I got to bump him down my ranks a bit.
So, I'll say 2 things. One is I would go buy low on James Robinson because he had almost twice as many snaps. The concern is real, though, too, as well as if Carlos Hyde is sitting out there. I would still go grab, and I had at this point go grab Carlos Hyde because this could be a Shanahan situation with Urban Meyer. But at least for now, you have the opportunity to attack both. You have the attack James Robinson on the low, but also make sure you're grabbing Hyde. But I would not buy high on Hyde either for the people that are concerned. Like, this just could be messy. Jets, Carolina. Actually, you know what? Yeah, we'll do Jets, Carolina. Because you know why? This one's easy, Chris. Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. Yeah, they're all great. Let's move on. Carry on.
Yeah.
See, Christian McCaffrey, great again. We don't really care about much else, except this is the only one that we care about in this entire game. The Jets backfield. Ty Johnson, more snaps than Tevin Coleman. Michael Carter didn't even get past Tevin Coleman, but Ty Johnson had as many snaps as Michael Carter and Tevin Coleman combined. So is it Ty Johnson for right now? Do you care? Is the second part.
I don't think
you didn't even let me finish the question. You were getting ready to jump in.
I was getting ready to jump in there. I don't think I care, but honestly, and maybe I'm wrong here, my big takeaway from that game is it's a positive for Michael Carter. Like, because he was getting, he was at least getting some usage, which kind of seemed like he was phased out a little bit in the preseason. Tevin Coleman is not great. We already know that. But the fact that Michael Carter was just getting, similar usage to Ty, and both Ty and Tevin didn't look good, that it could just be quicker than what we thought. I think we both agree that it's only going to be a matter of time before Michael Carter takes over. I think, the big thing is these other guys didn't look very good. Tevin Coleman started. He didn't look good at all. That it's just a matter of time here for Michael Carter. Elijah Moore played a lot of snaps, and it's really rare for a rookie, but he didn't do anything with them. I wonder when Jamison Crowder comes back if he's going to step in and maybe take a little bit away from Elijah. But it's just one game, and he didn't really play at all in the preseason. I don't think he didn't play in the preseason. So it's just small thing to bring up.
Yeah, I actually kind of like Elijah Moore for the fact that what you said is that he didn't play most, and then he was out there. I don't know when Jamison Crowder comes back, even if he's going to be 100. It's a core situation, so that's not even great. So let's talk. You know what? I'm going to come back to a different game. I'm going next to ODU, baby. Zach Pascal. No, I did not expect Zach Pascal to do what he did. This is for everybody that doesn't know me by now. A lot of what I say, even when I victory lap, quote unquote, is I'm being tongue in cheek. I am joking. If you see me, hopefully you hear my smile in my voice. I'm joking. So I'm going to say something. I'm going to say, yes, I was on Pascal over Paris Campbell. Chris knows that. We've actually talked about that. I was I was a Paris Campbell guy coming out of college, but he wasn't past Pascal. That's really kind of a lot of pass. So you see the situation yesterday. I did not expect that. I had Michael Pittman, Chris, way too high. I had Michael Pittman solidly as a wide receiver 3. Mostly because the matchup situation, and I'm not even talking about the secondary for the Eagles, which is better than some people have assumed, but more so is he was the one. He was the one that I expected to get more volume, and it ended up being Pascal. So that's where I want to go to it. Is Pascal week 1? Is this Kevin Ogletree? Is it week 1? Oh my God, look at this. Let's go crazy to pick up Pascal because he has maybe a 2% rostership in most leagues because people still were buying into him because he's not the name. Or is it just, this is where things fell? They attacked Pittman defensively because this is your boy's situation here is the fact on Seattle's side of the balls. We saw what they did. But what do you think about Pascal and relevancy? And Pittman. Is Pittman a buy low?
Wentz is not my boy anymore.
I know, but he's still your boy.
Yeah, I do root for him.
See?
Told you. He struggled yesterday. I saw very similar Wentz. It was his first game. But
after that injury, nobody expected him to play that game is what I'm saying, after the surgery,
True, very true. No, if everybody's been following along here in the show, I think we both like Pascal. I think we've liked him for a while. I mean, Paris has been playing, even before the T.Y. Hilton injury, Paris is playing with the second and third team offense. He was only getting out there in 3 wide receiver sets. Pascal, whether you believe in the talent or not, is going to be a player. And I joked with Pat last night. I said, because we had 2 shows with Pat, and I brought up Pascal, and he's like, man, you like Pascal more than me. I always like Pascal. He's just like, yeah, man, it seems to be opportunity. 2 red zone looks, which he converted for touchdowns. I don't know if there's any wide receiver inside this offense that we're ever going to feel comfortable starting, to be honest. I really like Pittman as a talent as well. And yeah, that's just one game. I agree. Buy low if you want, but I wouldn't be giving up the farm. I'm not, for example, Cooks. We're talking about Cooks, selling high for Cooks for Pittman. No chance. It's not even close to me. There's a gap between those two. I just think a lot of the offense is going to run through both running backs, right? Naheem Hines led the way in targets, and you've talked a lot about his usage last year, top 5 among running backs and catches. I think he actually may have been top 4 in catches. He's going to be a big part of the offense too. But yeah, Pascal, he should be rostered, and he's not. He's not picked up in enough leagues. He should be rostered. I don't know if I'm there yet to start him, but we'll see. It's a pretty good first start, and Wentz has a history of locking in on guys. So, that's a good week 1. That's his guy for now.
And third. Naeem Hines was third in receptions last year. Yeah. Only behind J.D. McKissick and obviously Kamara. So, yeah, because on the flip side, with this Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, thank God we got the DK Metcalf touchdown finally. Lockett stealing everything. Because we were joking about, I know a lot of people were saying, watch next week. We're going to get Tyler Lockett 2 for 23 while Metcalf goes for $150 and 2 because of this offense. But Chris Carson, our boy. I say our boy because it's been our boy for years. Healthy is one of the better running backs when healthy, obviously. But the one I want to say is this is one of the ones I'm not buying into. I'm still off this. I'm still off Gerald Everett. I know everybody keeps calling me crazy, Chris, but he got his touchdown, and people are on Everett, and they're like, oh, see, look. He's still tied Disley for 38 snaps. And again, that's my biggest concern is like, yes, I love Everett. I wish we could free Everett, but that's a lot of ease in that. But the snaps with Disley, if he doesn't catch that touchdown, I think a lot of people are like, oh, screw it. But yes, I know I don't want to take the touchdown away, but that snap count being a 50-50 split concerns me.
Absolutely. And I felt a little bummed because there's a couple subs that were, feeling Everett, and I just kind of shot it down. I wasn't really intrigued, and I saw exactly what you saw yesterday and, in the couple preseason games as well. As they split snaps, and Disley is still part of this offense. But at the same time, you're just looking for a tight end who can score a touchdown. Who can get some red zone targets. And Russell Wilson, this guy is just so efficient. What did he have? 5 incompletions yesterday and 4 touchdowns. And I went back and I looked at week
I don't know. He's no
year.
Jameis Winston.
He's no Jameis, no. And week 1 last year for Russell was 4 incompletions and 4 touchdowns. So he's just so darn efficient that you're just hoping for the best. But he's never going to be ranked as a top 12 tight end for me. It's going to be like late teens.
Yeah, that's certainly fair. All right, so nice timing, Mr. Nice Guy. Next game we're going to is actually Pitt at Buffalo. A lot to digest in this game. This is going to be a meaty game for the next little bit here because a couple factors. Let's start with the Buffalo side because that's the more concerning side. Actually, I put a poll out, Chris, yesterday, and I said, which week 1 offense are you most worried about? Green Bay, Buffalo, Tennessee, or Atlanta? Which would you have voted for?
I voted for Atlanta.
Okay, Atlanta barely beat out Green Bay. Wow, Green Bay being number 2. By the way, it's 36% to 34%. I'm surprised. Buffalo dead last at 7. Tennessee got 23%. So that's where you go. So seems nobody's really concerned about Buffalo. But if you watch that game, it was just like you got flashes, and I'm not saying he is, but you got flashes of rookie Josh Allen. That game, nothing was going right. Devin Singletary had the backfield, and we still don't care, even with an inactive Zach Moss. But I want to talk about the Bills' offense just because it went belly up. Is this the Steelers? Is this week 1 and the Steelers? Just a lot of things just went wrong. Is this Stephon Diggs not being 100%? Where are you on this? Are you buying low on Josh Allen, Diggs, and the rest of them? Or is there a level of concern at all? What did you take away from the Bills side specifically?
I think, they were a mess. The Bills were a complete mess on offense. But I think my biggest takeaway is that the Steelers are legit. Their defense is pretty strong. And I think a lot of people thought they were going to take a step back, but man, they generate pressure with the best of them and they can force turnovers. And I think if you were expecting just an old-fashioned shootout, it wasn't going to be the case. These two teams played last year too. These two teams played last year, and both quarterbacks struggled to move the football. This is just two teams that are really good defensively. I think we can just call it a wash. I don't. Out of all those 4 teams that you mentioned, this is the one that I'm actually. You know what? Green Bay's probably the one I'm least worried about. I don't know what the heck that was all about, but this is the second team.
We'll talk about
the second team I'm worried about. Diggs still caught a lot of passes. The one concern I guess I do have with Buffalo is that you can't just throw the football 50 plus times. You're going to have to try to establish the run somehow. You can't be one of those teams that just throws. You're really good at it. It's a good offense, but you need to mix it up a bit. I
am not a Zach Moss stan, I guess is a better word. Cause he's fine for the talent that he is. I'm not trying to poo Moss, but
is he fine?
He's a fine runner. He's slightly above replacement. Jordan Howard, but Jordan Howard's good days. But that's that's what he is. He got a ton of, he got overhyped out of college because of the broken tackle percentage and PFF. And I'm not poo-pooing PFF either. I'm just saying that they weren't the ones that were like, oh my God, he's the best running back in the history forever. But people acted like that because of the broken tackle. So all I'm saying is what you just said is what I was talking about yesterday with some people, is that the Zach Moss inactive, while we want to joke and laugh at the people that were the Zach Moss people, at the same time, I agree with you. I think that was to the detriment of the team. I don't think Singletary is a lead, is a bell cow. Actually, we've seen that from Singletary that he's not. And I'm not saying we're going to get fantasy value out of Moss or Singletary because it's Josh Allen's backfield. But if you want the balance, that's where I 100% agree with you, Chris. If you want to win games, you can't completely abandon the run and have no threat of it, because you see what happened yesterday. Is you give defenses just not even a full thing to take away, but you give them just that little bit of the edge. It goes back to like we were talking about with the play action with some teams that don't run enough play action. Why is play action effective? Because you make that defense think for a smidge of a second, and that's all it takes in the NFL. When you don't have a running game threat, you're taking away part of the things they have to account for. The less the defense has to account for, the more effective they're going to be, even if they're a mediocre defense. So I completely agree with you. I think they need Moss back.
I think they need Moss back, as well. Just to and maybe because he was hurt and he had a limited role in week 3. I was surprised that he was inactive. I thought, I didn't expect anything from him. I wasn't starting either running back.
No,
I was shocked that
none of us were.
He was inactive. But yeah, they're gonna have to mix it up. I mean, you look at the Cowboys, and I know that they're different and they have an elite running back. I still think that Zeke is elite. I just had to laugh when I mentioned it. 4-11. When Dak throws the ball 40-plus times. Like, you have to have some sort of balance there, and we'll see if that's the case. They played a playoff game last year where they didn't run the ball once in the first half. Like, you can't have that.
No. As much as we want to joke establish the run, I mean, there is truth behind it.
Sure.
You have to have that threat. It's the Damian Harris preseason argument we were making of the people like us who were on Damian Harris. Again, is that he's not the world's beater in the pass catching department, but by being on the field, you make the defense account for both. Whereas James White, 9 out of 10 times they're throwing the ball. When you had LeGarrette Blount, you knew 9 out of 10 times they're going, like, that's why. So anyway, real quick, Pittsburgh side of the ball, Damian Harris, Najee Harris, quiet, but you talk about the bell cow of the snaps, wasn't even close. Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster led there. So Juju had 53 snaps. Deontay had 44. Deontay came out of the game, in case anybody missed that. I thought he was hurt. I was pouring out and crying and dying over here because it's like, I can't do this. Deontay Johnson in week 1. Claypool third. So 2 parts here, Chris. Buy and low, just like on Zeke, everywhere I can on Najee Harris was the bell cow we expected. It was just a bad day, a rough go of it against the Bills defense, against the run. And then Deontay Johnson is actually what Deontay Johnson expected to be. Just please stay healthy. Prayer, prayer, prayer. And Claypool's third. And Claypool is very risky, touchdown dependent.
He is, yeah. Claypool was a sit for me over at FTNFantasy.com in one of my articles, start and sit, just the pure matchup. Last year, the Bills just stacked the box and forced Big Ben to throw deep. I dare you. Go ahead. And Claypool wasn't a factor, and they used Juju in the run game and blocking a bit, and you can attack the Bills in the slot, and that's what they did. Juju had a great game last year against the Bills, and I thought he was decent this week against the Bills as well. But yeah, Najee Harris played 100% of the snaps. 100% of the snaps? Are you kidding me? Yeah, there's not too many running backs.
And Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey. That's the other one.
Yeah, he's the only one. Like, and in years past, like, I can't even think of too many others. Like, Zeke was always in around there for close to 100%, but that's never going to be the case anymore with Pollard. Yeah, you want a running back volume and opportunity. You're getting it with Najee Harris. Say buy low.
No, 1,000%. All right, so Arizona, Tennessee, not what we expected. Not what we expected at all. Tennessee was actually on that list, 23%. This was expected to be potentially a shootout because Tennessee is so efficient at scoring. But yesterday's when it doesn't happen and when it goes sideways. So there's a couple things out of here real quick. Backfield split, exactly. We don't need to spend any time on that. It's exactly what we expected. Is that Connor and Edmonds are going to split when it's passing game. Some upside. That's Edmonds. Connor was the lead for a lot of getting those goal line carries, goal to go situations. Exactly what we expected. Arizona done. So there's 2 things to talk about, Chris. Christian Kirk had a giant game. Finally, Christian Kirk's breakout. Is Christian Kirk here? One, are you excited for Christian Kirk? And then the second part of it, are you taking anything away from the Tennessee stinker side of the ball outside of the A.J. Brown touchdown? Or is it just really, let's talk about Christian Kirk in this game?
It's actually, I think the Titans is probably worthy of a discussion. We don't have too much time to really get into them, but maybe Arthur Smith being gone and Tannehill and it just not getting in there. It could be a lot of just these teams with 3 preseason games and not touching the field at all in that 3rd preseason game. It's that there's just a lot of rust, I think, across the league. And I saw that with the Titans offense. And again, maybe it is Arthur Smith leaving. This is a team that could run the play action very well and dominate the line of scrimmage, but Arizona dominated the line of scrimmage. I mean, Chandler Jones with 5 sacks and 3 in the first quarter. It was a very impressive performance. So maybe it's more so on Arizona being impressive as opposed to Tennessee just laying an egg. But that offense looked brutal. I think we can buy low, but they're in Seattle next week, a tough spot. Kirk is good. You like Kirk before? We've had conversation about Christian Kirk. I mean, I'm a fan of his. I don't think he's very
yeah,
boomer
but I finally
bust.
got tired of trying to root for him.
And now he's showing up. I mean, last year he showed up at times too. And I think the one thing that hurt Kirk last year towards the second half of the season was Kyler's shoulder, because Kirk was starting to get into a bit of a groove. There was at least one deep shot in every game that Kyler would throw to Christian Kirk. And that's very appealing because Kyler is absolutely legit. I mean, he is well on his way. It's just one game, but I don't want to overreact at all because I just buy into everything that he's selling. He's so good. Like, he could have 5 touchdowns every single week. Like, and I wouldn't be shocked. So to have a guy linked to Kyler, and AJ just, he played more snaps than him, but I didn't see a whole lot from AJ, that there's an opportunity here for Kirk because Rondale Moore is eventually going to have a full-time role inside the slot, which was Kirk's former role. So I am interested in Kirk. I don't want to overreact on him. He's going to be boomer bust, but to have a piece of that offense is very appealing.
Yeah, so just we're going to see more. We're going to need to see more snaps, though. I will say,
snaps.
AJ Green 54, Christian Kirk 37, Rondale Moore 50 for the situation here. All right, so then let's move on to. You said you want to talk on Tennessee. Was there what was you want to talk about? Like, I mean,
I think that was just it. Just the they just got dominated at the line. I think it would buy in on all these guys. The one thing I noticed, Julio, man, and he didn't get a lot of run in the preseason. I don't think he played at all, and he wasn't really spending a lot of time with Tannehill. I know Tannehill was asked about it a couple weeks ago in the connection.
Well, so they mentioned that yesterday.
Played that much together.
If you were watching the Green Bay game too, when they were trying to, we'll talk about the Green Bay game next. We're going to skip around, even though we're not going in direct order because now we're jumping to the 4:00 games. But they were saying that, like, for a lot of the quarterbacks that didn't play much of the preseason or to not have played at all, you could see some of the rust, quote unquote. You could see some of the not being on the same page, and that maybe that was part of it. And you just assumed Aaron Rodgers was going to come out firing like week 1. But talk about that real quick in a second. Last thing I want to say, if you were hoping for Anthony Firkser, again, tried to say, like, I don't know how many times I had to say I don't care about the third option, whether it's a wide receiver or tight end. I don't care about the third option in the Tennessee offense. I never will. I never have. The flyer on Firkser yesterday is because they were down so many wide receivers. I was like, okay, if you want to put him like 18, 17 at tight end and just take the chance, I'm okay with it. But if he couldn't do it yesterday, 31 snaps, Swaim had 25. Chester Rogers, the third wide receiver, at 39. You don't want the third option in the Tennessee passing game. So let's talk about Green Bay because that's another one everybody wants to talk about. Make sure we get this in here. I tweeted this out, Chris, from Friends yesterday. It was the Chandler when he walks in and Joey's trapped inside the closet or trapped inside the entertainment center. Just, what the hell happened? Like, that's exactly. If you didn't watch that game, maybe if you were watching the game, what the hell happened to the Packers? It's funny. This is all I have to say, Chris. What the hell happened is so telling because I tweeted it out as a complete joke. And I said, what if Aaron Rodgers knew he couldn't go anywhere? He was stuck, and he's such a bitter guy that he said, you know what? I'm going to tank the entire season. I'm going to leave the Packers in ruins. I'm going to get the hell out of here, take Adams with me, and everything's burned to the ground. And then somebody's like, well, and what, give him a number 1 draft pick? And I was like, no, see, that's the catch, is now they don't even get to evaluate Jordan Love because he's still there. See, he has this all master plan, and people are taking it seriously because we have no explanation for what happened to the Packers yesterday.
Yeah, and I don't have an answer for you, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe they took New Orleans lightly going to Jacksonville and thinking, oh, the Saints are going through, a few things, and Jameis is going to be their quarterback. And look at their wide receiver core. Oh my goodness, like they don't have anyone to throw the football to. Jair is going to shut down. Callaway will be good. Yeah, Rodgers looked like a guy who just didn't care. To be honest, there's a few throws where it just looked like he just mailed it in, like the old school, like throws where he would just like There was one in his own end zone. Like, what was that? Like, he just like, here you go. I'm just gonna give it to the other team right now. I don't know, man. I don't think, and I know you said that tongue in cheek. Like, I don't think he's screw you, Green Bay. I'm just gonna mail it in all year, and then I'm gonna go to Las Vegas with Devontae Adams next year and ball out. I don't think that's the case. It's just one game, but Rodgers rubs me the wrong way. The fact that he just like complained, the fact that he just like had like a bit of a hissy fit throughout the entire offseason. Then he shows up in his office, come to work t-shirt, and it's all ha jokes. One last dance. What do you mean one last dance? Are you really going to compare yourself to the Chicago Bulls teams who had championship after championship? Like, come on, man. Like, it's just.
I'll give credit to Adam Rank. Adam Rank tweeted yesterday, said, I guess today was the last dance.
No, last year was the last dance. It's over. Like, it's done. Not yesterday. I don't like, even after the game, he's like, they got this smirk on his face. Like, who cares?
All right. So here's what I'll say. And what it really comes down to is if you watch the Saints and how they chose to attack the Packers, is they did two things. Well, first of all, their front has been strong against the run.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't expecting to bottle up Aaron. I had Aaron Jones inside my top 10. Because he's Aaron Jones. I didn't expect it to go that sideways. But I think what went wrong for Aaron Jones was the fact that the Saints took away, essentially, for as much as you can take away Devontae Adams, as much as you can take away DeAndre Hopkins and A.J. Brown, like all these Tyreek Hill. Like, you could do so much to limit them. They're still going to be on the scoreboard, as Devontae Adams was. But when you spend that much attention to them, normally it opened things up, but for whatever reason, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers just has no interest in anybody else in this game. And I saw Lazard drop a pass as always. Valdez-Scantling wasn't in the right spot on another one. Well, you could say whether the throw was there or not. Randall Cobb had one catch, maybe two in that entire game. And it just seemed like if Adams wasn't working, it seemed like that's where I'll say it's like Aaron Rodgers didn't care about anybody else, and he was just kind of annoyed it wasn't working instead of trying to find the other options. And that led to the defunct side of the run game because they also got down, by the second half. So there is no run game there. So I will say, again, I'm buying low. I am buying low on Aaron Jones, and I've never been that big of an Aaron Jones guy. I'll go, Robert Tonyan had nothing. He's touchdown reliant, but I'll go buy low on Robert Tonyan if I need tight end help. Maybe somebody's going to drop Tonyan, but I don't think it's going to go wrong. So let's talk about the positive side of the ball. And that's Jameis Winston went ballistic. But from the touchdown, he set an NFL record, Chris. The least amount of passing yards for 5 touchdowns ever, because all he did was throw touchdowns yesterday. So, two-part question here is, Saints wide receivers, do you have any clarity and thoughts? And the Saints tight ends, because Troutman was out there twice as much as Juwan Johnson, but Juwan Johnson had the touchdowns. So, is it Johnson? Is it go get Troutman in the sneaky? He was out there a hell of a lot more than Johnson was, and this is just back to the Drew Brees days? Where it was like, hey, it just happened to be a touchdown. Don't really look at the touchdowns. Look at the volume. So how are you parsing through the Saints offense?
Yeah, I usually go with the opportunity as opposed to just like a couple targets here and there. But I'm more interested in Juwan Johnson. Yeah,
really.
Jameis has a history of locking in on dudes, and he looked at him quite a bit in the preseason, and he looked at him a couple times inside the red zone. I think I would rather have Juwan Johnson. I like him too. I think he's a talent. But Adam Troutman, I was impressed the fact that he did get more run because, as you and I chatted about, I think before the season started, he was just he was more so blocking than anything. But I think both of these guys could certainly be intriguing inside this offense until Michael Thomas comes back, because Marcus Callaway, there was a really tough matchup for him against Jair Alexander, but is this guy really going to, overtake top corners in the league moving forward? Right? We like him because of the opportunity, and Traquan Smith is on the IR, and Michael Thomas is not there, but Jair is not a guy that I think he can just beat top coverage every single week. So I don't know how much Jameis will actually look his way. I was very impressed with Winston. Didn't expect him to throw 5 touchdowns on the little amount that he threw the football, and no picks too, which is very impressive as well. But
here's where I'm going to go.
No other wideouts I like, to be honest.
I am going with sell high on everybody on the Saints, Jameis included. And we were like, oh, you called Jameis. I was like, oh, no, I didn't expect you. Because here's the thing. Let's talk about the snap counts, Chris. And I include selling on Juwan Johnson, who I picked up and tweeted out. Yes, I tweeted out on Saturday. It's like sneaky picks up Lil Jordan Humphrey and Juwan Johnson, more so Juwan Johnson, because a lot of sites have him as tight end eligible for the wide receiver, because he was classified as a wide receiver. He is a tight end, but that being said, 52 snaps for Callaway, next closest. Harris at 27. Humphrey at 18. And then if you go to tight end, 51 for Troutman. Number 2 wasn't even Johnson. Number 2 was Griffin at 17, 12, as you mentioned, for Johnson. So the snap count order actually goes Callaway, Kamara, Harris, and Tony Jones, with Troutman's right behind Callaway. So I'm selling high on Jameis Winston because I don't expect that kind of efficiency. If it was Ryan Tannehill, maybe. I'm selling high on Juwan Johnson because I liked him. I'm with you. I told everybody to go pick him up. I'm immediately cashing in that lottery ticket. You cannot be on the field for 12 snaps versus the 50 possible snaps you could have had and be continuous success. And then Callaway, you can't really sell high after yesterday, but there's no other wide receiver I want. I was hoping Traquan would be healthy, but when the second closest wide receiver is 27 snaps, half the snaps, I can't do it.
Chris Hogan, 14 snaps, caught a touchdown. Like,
Another
week
one.
one is crazy when Chris Hogan finds the end zone.
And Danny Amendola.
And Danny Amendola, that's right. Oh, my goodness.
Both of them
what
in week
year
one.
is it? I guess I can't argue any of that, really. I mean, I don't know what you could get for Juwan Johnson. I think his ownership is like sub 10%, but I think a deeper league, sure, you could say like now would be the time, I guess. But maybe he carves out a bigger role moving forward. Maybe part of it was game script, where they're just, kicking the crap out of the Packers. And I don't know. But this entire offense, I suppose, outside of Alvin Kamara, as good as Jameis Winston looked, I'm not intrigued with, many pieces of it, like until Thomas comes back. Like there's going to be some highs and lows. Even Deontay Harris, like people talking up Harris, like, yeah, he cut a deep touchdown pass. Like, come on. You're not going to roll this guy in and week out. Even in the best matchups, I don't think he could ever feel confident.
These are the things you have to pay attention to is snaps and routes run into opportunities because, you can have – it's the NFL. You can have flukes any given week. I mean, we could go back to Jerome Bettis, 3 rushes for 3 touchdowns on 3 yards. Like these kind of things will happen. But you look at the opportunity and potential for going forward. And that's how you avoid the Kevin Ogletrees and waivers when you get to that, which we'll be talking about tomorrow, 11 a.m. with Stepmom Lauren is the waiver show as we continue this recap. All right, we have to rapid fire because we got 10 minutes and 1, 2, 3, 7 games. So I'll save your game because I know you're going to talk more than a rapid fire on that one. And there is more to talk about on that one. Washington football going to Tyler Haneke. They have a Thursday night football game against the Giants. Or yes, already a Thursday night football game right in the books to kick things off with them. But really what it comes down to, 2 things out of this game. Do you care about Diami Brown, who has 51 snaps, only 4 behind McLaurin until Curtis Samuel? He's on the at least 3 weeks for IR. And then Larry Roundtree looks like he's the backup ahead of Justin Jackson. Joshua Kelly was inactive. So that's basically the same question for both, Chris. Do you care about Diami Brown, and do you care about Larry Roundtree?
Yeah, I care about both. I'm a little concerned about the Washington offense. Who knows? Maybe it'll be better with Heineke. It seemed like McLaurin and Logan Thomas were getting more involved when Fitzpatrick went down, and it looks like Fitzpatrick's going to be done for quite a bit. Roundtree, I guess I am because only because we need to see who's going to be that guy in case anything happened to Austin Eckler. We went through this last year and it was very underwhelming with Justin Jackson and Joshua Kelly. Roundtree's ahead of both of those guys. He could carve out a role. He could be a goal line back. That's very possible. Eckler was like 4th or 5th on his team in red zone rushing attempts last year. So I do care about both spec ads. You got to think who could be the next guy inside the offense. The offensive line yesterday for the Chargers looked unreal. It's revamped. They held Washington in check, which is a vicious defense.
Yeah. All right. So next one, let's talk about, because Casey Pearson just said this, he's okay with victory laps, but also that a lot of people don't mention their misses, which we've talked about a couple in this show, some of our misses, but also explaining why. So that's why I want to go to this game, because I want to talk about the fact that Denver at New York Giants, that I was too high on Cortland Sutton, and I'll explain why. And I definitely missed on this one. One is I have been on the side and said that the Giants secondary is something that people don't account enough for, is that how good that secondary is. I was assuming, Judy was going to be Judy, which he was in that game, breaking off routes at ankle break. That probably wasn't the best terminology. I'm really not trying to make a joke. That just, I know. Sorry, I caught myself as I said it. So it was just snapping off routes, and just, the Giants had no answer for him, but I thought that would help Cortland Sutton only have single coverage, even though James Bradbury is a top 10, 15 corner in the NFL. I thought Sutton could take advantage of that because he's Sutton. So I missed on that because the Giants also brought some safety coverage. They paid attention to Sutton, and Judy just was doing his thing for the most of the game. And that's where it went wrong. That's where I was wrong on Cortland Sutton. But Judy looks like he's missing significant time. We don't have the exact word on it yet. So I don't want to go to Sutton. I don't really go to is KJ Hamler have any interest to you, or Tim Patrick, if you're going after one? Because Patrick seems like he fits in there better, but KJ Hamler has been more explosive this preseason, and even week 1, he had a touchdown that he should have had.
That he should have had, yeah, but he couldn't reel it in. I think
kinda,
he has
got a little turned around.
Yeah, he did. He still should have caught that ball. But yeah, I think I'm Patrick, actually.
Okay.
The upside does lie with KJ, I suppose. There could be a lot of boom and bust, but Patrick's good, like really good. And last year he stepped in for Cortland Sutton, and he was pretty strong. So I am in on Tim Patrick, yes.
All right, KJ. So on Melvin Gordon, we're selling high, right? You were not,
yeah, absolutely.
That one, the garbage time run. Well,
yeah,
it was kind of garbage time E.
Positive first game for Javonte Williams. Yeah, he
up until that point, Javonte Williams was so much better. There was not even a night and a day.
So much better. He closed out the game, which is positive as well. His rushing prop was 6.5 carries. He cruised past that pretty early. Yeah, I think that was a very positive first game for him. The fact that he basically had more snaps and more touches than Melvin. Yeah, Melvin had the nice run at the end, but that's it. Melvin's a good back, but Javonte Williams is the guy there.
All right, so Minnesota, Cincinnati. Hey, remember when people were concerned about Jamar Chase? That was fun. That was a lot of fun. Remember here's the quick version on that. So 2 quick takeaways from this game. Jamar Chase. Are we concerned about Tyler Boyd? Because Chase, boom, week 1, back into the mix, and Tyler Boyd was kind of left out for a lot of that game.
Yeah, should be. Chase led the team in targets, snaps, had the big catch. And also I noticed on third down, Burrow was going to his guy, Jamar Chase. So, yeah, Boyd is a really good wide receiver, but he's clearly the 3 on this option. And Mixon, touched the ball a ton. So, if you're talking about him at all, like maybe Boyd's the 4th.
Mixon was actually the leader. And
touches.
So there you go. Minnesota, any interest in KJ Osborne or Tyler Conklin?
Your boy Conklin, yeah, he kind of showed up a little bit. He played way more snaps than Herndon, which is not overly surprising. I think Osborne, I think so, right? There hasn't really been over the past couple of years. There's been a third wide receiver here in this offense, and
I know I was watching 3 wide a lot, and I'm like, wait, is this the Vikings?
Yeah, that's probably my big takeaway from the entire week. Honestly, was the Vikings offense. And I know it started very slow, but usually it's just Thielen and Jefferson. We've had this conversation so many times, but I think the biggest takeaway is that, they were running a lot of 3. Osborne basically played the exact same amount of snaps as the other 2 studs, so he should be on your radar. Absolutely.
All right, so let's see. Cleveland and Kansas City. So no Odell Beckham, which was a surprise for a lot of people, which kind of sent everybody panicking, but everybody assumed Donovan Peoples-Jones, but it ended up being Anthony Schwartz. Any concern? My initial reaction is that what I kind of expected the entire time, after Landry and Odell Beckham, there's still not a clear picture. It could be Higgins next week. It could be Donovan Peoples-Jones next week. It could be Short. I'm just kind of out on trying to figure out who's the third man up until it's clear. Clear as in we see the snaps, we see the practice reports, and there is a clear winner right now. If Schwartz, the rookie already in week 1, it's just a cluster in my opinion.
Yeah, again, another rookie, though, to get more playing time than, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think what we know is that it's not Rashard Higgins. Right, that's what we know. It's not Higgins, that it's either Schwartz or it's Donovan Peoples-Jones, but Beckham will be back soon.
All right,
and it's not Hooper.
Oh, yeah. Forget the tight end situation there. I had a little bit of hope still left for Austin Hooper, but he's out. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, buy low, yes, no question about it.
Yeah, buy low. He was playing a lot of snaps. Yeah,
love the snap count out there. This is what we hope to see. Miami and New England. Gaskin and the Miami running backs, exactly what we kind of expected. It's that flex value is going to be what you're hoping to get out of Gaskin. On their side of it, too, Jalen Waddle, balls out. All the rookies caught touchdowns from their 4 quarterbacks. It was great. Cool. We check all 3 of them. Yeah. Gesicki, that's what I want to talk about. Here's another one, Casey, I went wrong with, but I was right initially. I should have just stuck with what I said. I was completely off Gesicki this year. I said, I don't want any Gesicki. The situation of the slot, the volume last year, and he still was only top 10. My concern was all 3 wide were all there, but I said, okay, maybe week 1, with no Will Fuller, he can still have some tight end 1 value left. But because of Jalen Waddle, it still didn't matter because they occupy that space where Gesicki succeeded last year. So Will Fuller's back. We're completely off Gesicki now, right? Forget about it.
He was second on his team in tight ends and for snaps for tight ends. Smith, is it Smith or Smythe? Smythe. He got more.
Durham
Smythe got more. Durham Smythe. He got more snaps than Gesicki. Yeah, Will Fuller's coming back. Absolutely. You were spot on. We both were. Fade Gesicki.
I know. I was spot on, and then I said I really thought Gesicki could potentially have tight end 1 value in week 1 just because of that. Yeah. But he mentioned. Aguilar and Myers for the Patriots. Any interest there?
Myers, yes. Aguilar had a good game. I think that was more just a matchup dependent, but I think both of these guys, I think Mac Jones looked pretty good. So yeah, both should be picked up. If I had to choose between one of the two, it would be Jacoby. Yeah. And I thought Damien looked great. I wouldn't worry about the fumble.
Well, no, hold on. So if everybody's listening, it might get a little bit of silence because if anybody's listening, I'm about to do something only for the video people. This is why I tune in the video people. I'll be right back, Chris, because I'm running a victory lap around my house.
I love the victory laps. Don't drop the rock.
No,
fumble.
two victory because I'm combining. That was a victory lap for Damian Harris and Darrell Henderson. Now, people tell me I'm drunk on Darrell Henderson and Damian Harris, and let's include both of them because Damian Harris was a bell cow for Belichick, and Darrell Henderson. You know when Sony Michel finally touched the ball in the fourth effing quarter. Darrell Henderson and Damian Williams. I have zero concerns. I loved it. It was so much fun.
To be honest, Henderson I thought looked pretty bad early on, but then he looked really good. I didn't think Michelle was going to touch the ball.
Look at the defense he was facing.
Yes, it was good. I didn't think Michelle was going to touch the ball at all. Over at FTN, we were under on his 9.5 rushing attempts and 48 rushing yards. It's just a new guy and a new offense. But yeah, Henderson is the lead there, and Harris I thought looked amazing. And another thing we were on, Jeff Ratcliffe, he talked about it quite a bit actually over at FTNBets.com. Was that I think his receiving prop was 8.5. He's going to be a guy that maybe just catches a ball here or two, just like Mac Jones giving it to him. I wouldn't worry at all about the fumble. Stevenson touched the ball twice, and he dropped it in one of those two touches, and J.J. Taylor was inactive. I thought it was a really strong game for Damian Harris, but unfortunately, I mean, he fumbled that ball at the end, which probably would have gave Mac Jones the victory. So it was a sour ending, but I thought a really strong game. He's a good running back.
I'm still buying
Go
Damian
run
Harris because
Go right
because we got to get to your game before we get out of here. We got like 2 minutes. Or I would.
2 minutes to talk about Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. So Hurts is in this conversation. Hurts is part of that victory lap I just did, by the way. Yeah. Real quick, interest in Van Jefferson.
Sure.
It wasn't just a big play. He was out there a ton.
A ton. And I loved what McVay said after about Stafford. Just basically that there's no throw that, we can't, run a play for because there's no limitations with the offense. It was shots at Jared Goff, but man, Matthew Stafford in this offense. Oh, baby. Yeah. Sky's the limit for a lot of guys in the offense. So
we get the full 2 minutes. I'll just leave it to you because Jalen Hurts, by the way, he can't pass, I thought. Remember that, Chris?
Can't pass, yeah.
Oh, my God. The Jalen Hurts, there was like so much, like there's definitely things that I went wrong with, but man, that was a good, for my guys, my guys, I had a hell of a fun week one. So Atlanta, real quick, Chris, concerns, Pitts was quiet, Matt Ryan looked bad. Mike Davis did get a lot of work, but Cordell Patterson was involved. And then Jalen Hurts, we could just celebrate Jalen Hurts to close things out.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, my goodness. I thought a really strong game for him. I thought the offensive line of Philadelphia played phenomenal. They dominated the line of scrimmage, and that's probably my biggest takeaway on both sides is that the Eagles' offensive line is great. It created holes for Miles Sanders. Kenneth Gainwell looked good. Jalen Hurts, again, he's got at least 60 rushing yards in 4 of his 5 games, and one game he didn't even finish because he was pulled in Week 17. He had a connection with Devonta Smith. My goodness. They connected 4 times in a row on one drive. He looked really good. The Philadelphia offense looked pretty strong. I know it was just the Falcons. My concerns with Atlanta is their offensive line. It just got dominated. Matt Ryan, you said, didn't look great. They targeted Ridley quite often. I believe he had 3 catches on 3 targets in the first drive, and then he just didn't really have any time to throw the football. Pitts had 8 targets, very positive, second among tight ends. I wouldn't worry about Pitts and Ridley. Davis, I guess, is okay as what you draft him as a flex guy. You hope he catches a few passes. But overall, this team is bad. When we talked about their win total last week at 6.5, we laughed about it for a while. Like, they're not a good football team, and they're going to be a bad football team all year long. But yeah, Eagles looked real good on offense, and Jalen Hurts he's got top 5 upside because of what he can do on the ground. And if he's connecting with some of these wide receivers, I mean, they all got a piece, Jalen Reagor included, and the tight ends looked good.
Yeah, I picked up Jalen Reagor late in the week because he's still sitting out there in so many leagues. The one concern I will say is that still the Dallas Goedert, only 11 more snaps than Zach Ertz. I would sell high on him because he got that touchdown and because the snaps similar to the situation with Everett. Don't like to see those snaps. Would love it if Zach Ertz wasn't in the picture. But yes, Jalen Hurts. Miles Sanders looked really good, by the way, even though Gainwell got that other touchdown. And yeah, let's just get out of here with celebrate. Let's celebrate some Jalen Hurts. Let's celebrate all the rookie wide receivers catching from their quarterbacks. Hurts, Smith. We could go with Jamar Chase and all of them. Darrell Henderson, we love you. Damian Harrison, we love you. We love you for watching. And we love dealing through Chris's headset at the beginning. But make sure you're following Chris at Chris Meaney. I had to call you out for that again. TheAthletic.com/BetsTV, all capitals, first free month. Back tomorrow at 11 a.m. to talk waivers with Lauren. See you later, guys. Week 1 almost in the books.